Some of our lack of understanding and our lack of peace is really not knowing what peace is. So let me start with what peace isn't. Peace is not the world as I think it should be. I don't get to make a declaration about how everything is supposed to work, and when it doesn't meet my standard, then I am not at peace. Peace is not actually about an outcome at all. You know, our world shows fewer and fewer signs of peace each and every day. War, rumors of wars. Our news is just filled with violence and conspiracy theories and crime. Even our entertainment and the things that we find entertaining are less and less wholesome. And all of those things begin to steal and eat away at the peace that should be ours. There's other thieves out there of peace as well, like relational strain. Maybe you walked in today's church service, or maybe you're watching from home today, and you realize that there's some strain, there's some things happening between you and family members, between you and a spouse, or you and a child. And it just creates a sense of turmoil in your heart. That relational strain, that is a thief of peace. Maybe you are struggling to find work. There's economic struggle right there in your home. It steals peace. Maybe there's other disunity that you're involved in with friends, or maybe your church family, or even your closest family. A thief of peace. A lack of rest and sleep can steal peace. Even the holiday season itself can steal peace, which is a bit ironic, isn't it? But I would go on a little further to just say that some of our lack of understanding and our lack of peace is really not knowing what peace is. So let me start with what peace isn't. Peace is not the world as I think it should be. That's not what it is. I don't get to make a declaration about how everything is supposed to work, and when it doesn't meet my standard, then I am not at peace. Peace is not actually about an outcome at all. Peace is not perfection. Peace is not the absence of conflict. For those of you that hate conflict, and I know you know who you are, the absence of conflict doesn't denote that your heart is full of peace. It might mean that it's quiet, but you might not have peace. It is, however, a calmness, a certainty, an assurance, a trust. There's a Hebrew word that was used in the Old Testament called shalom. To this day, our Jewish brothers and sisters use this as their common greeting. If you were overseas, you would hear them say to one another, shalom, brother, shalom, sister. And it gives us a little window into the depth of this amazing word. It's really the word that this entire song hangs on. Because shalom is about completeness and flourishing and things being really as God intended them to be. It includes, spiritual restoration with God, emotional stability, healthy relationships, even communal well-being. And so if you examine the New Testament, peace is ultimately grounded in the reconciliation of relationship, both with God and with others, which plays right into our mission statement. When we exist as a church to invite everyone into meaningful relationship with God and with each other, when we are afforded that relational connectivity, that reconciliation, that is the basis for this amazing word. So here's what I mean. To summarize, what is peace? It's within your soul that you are reconciled to Jesus Christ, and you're underneath God's authority in life. And with others, no matter what's happening around you, that you can live with a settled love and care of others, no matter what the world throws your way. So sleep in heavenly peace. It's not actually just something that the angels sang to the Christ child. It's actually what the Christ child promises to you. I was looking through the scriptures And I saw some really intentional thoughts and words regarding peace I want to kind of bring to mind and really give us three things that peace is. The first thing is this: peace is a person. I take you back to our passage from last week, Isaiah 9, verse 6. For unto us a child is born, a son is given. The government will rest on his shoulders. He will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and then Prince of Peace. It is actually an identifier of Jesus himself. It's who he is. It's not just what he brings, but he actually defines the word. So if all the things in our world steal our peace, Jesus is actually the one that restores it to us. He brings it back because it is him. And it is really difficult in the world that we live in to obtain true peace and understand it fully if we don't have a relationship with the one who defines the word himself, the Prince of Peace. You remember the old cliche, no Jesus, no peace, N-O. But no Jesus, K-N-O-W, no Jesus, no peace. To know him is to experience what he's talking about. 1 Corinthians 14:33 says that God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. So if God the Father is the King of all peace, then the Son, Jesus himself, is the Prince of Peace. It is a character trait. It runs in the bloodline of the Trinity. It's who he is. But the second thing that peace is that it's a promise. As Jesus is preparing to be crucified, buried, risen, and ascend, he made this promise to his disciples in John 14:27. He says, I'm leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and heart. And the peace I give is a gift that the world cannot give. So don't be troubled and don't be afraid. When you live in a relationship with Jesus, it grants you access to the promises of Jesus, ones that always come true. So when he makes a declaration and says, hey, listen, I'm going to leave you with a gift. I know I'm leaving, but I'm leaving you with a gift, and it's a peace. It's an assurance. It's a wholeness. And it's not the peace that the world gives. The peace that the world gives rests in what we have. It rests in what we can do for ourselves. It rests in how we feel. The problem is that everything around us will tug and drag our feelings in the wrong direction. And if we give in and we're formed by our feelings, you and I both know anxiety increases, depression increases, irritability increases, uncertainty increases. We are living in one of the most anxious generations of all time. And I believe it's because we haven't breathed deep the peace that can be found in Christ. We're finding relationship in such weird ways. Digital devices, phones, social media accounts. Those things don't bring peace. Jesus himself makes a promise. He says, I'm going to leave you with a gift, and the peace that I give, it's not the peace that the world gives. You're sitting here today, and you might not have peace in your heart. And I just want you to examine where you are. Do you have a health crisis? Is that stealing peace? Do you have a financial concern? Do you have a crisis within your church? Do you have an identity crisis going on? Is there a crisis in your marriage? Whatever it is, all those things without Jesus will steal peace. So ask yourself the question, have I fully surrendered my crisis to the person of Jesus Christ? Have I rested in the promise that he has me, that I'm his, I'm a son or I'm a daughter of him, and I can rest in the peace, not that the world gives because it's throwing me all kinds of curveballs, but I can sleep in heavenly peace because the world's solutions are not going to grant me the peace that Jesus promises. It only comes through him